ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् भाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्तिः 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 Hello, namaste, and good evening from Washington, D.C. My name is Sat Parashar. I thank you for joining, and I welcome you all to Hindutva for Global Good Conference 2021. It is my privilege to make a few opening remarks. I will limit my remarks to what, why, and how of this conference. This conference is essentially educational in nature. An effort is being made to educate people, particularly those living and propagating, and also those supporting such people with irrational misconceptions about Hindutva and Hinduism. Hindutva is the essence of Hinduism, and Hinduism is the oldest continuing civilization of our world. I hope you would agree, fads and fashion come and go. Only functional, rational, and scientific survive for thousands of years. And that is Hinduism and Hindutva. Unfortunately, you may have heard there has been so much misinformation spread by vested interests and their propaganda machine against Hindus, Hinduism, and Hindutva. I would say, thanks to the left side of the human brain and eyeballs hungry media, a person who blocks a road draws more attention and turns more rubbernecks than a person who builds a road and maintains a good road. But well-meaning persons recognize and respect only road builders and not road blockers. I wish to say thank you, Americans, and the well-meaning leadership of America. Hindus, in your eyes, as per declaration of October as the Hindu Heritage Month by more than one state of the United States of America, is a clear evidence of your love and appreciation of Hindus. And I like to quote from the state of Ohio Declaration of October 2021 as Hindu Heritage Month. Quote, whereas during the month of October, the culture, history, traditions, achievements, and contributions of Hindus are recognized and celebrated throughout the United States. And whereas American Hindus have made numerous positive contributions in all aspects of society, from science to business to politics to spirituality, unquote. The same sentiments have been expressed by many other states of the United States of America, including Florida, Texas, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Georgia, Minnesota, Virginia, and California. I must say that I sincerely regret if I have missed some name because the messages are continuously flowing into us. But a thought comes to my mind that, in a way, the job of the speakers in this conference has been made much easier by these unequivocal expression of great support by Americans and American leadership to the ideas of Hinduism and Hindutva. After all, what Hindus have achieved that they are admired for have been achieved by practicing Hinduism and Hindutva as a way of life, wherever they are, in any part of the world, right from east to the west and from north to the south. You may, if I may suggest, please watch, if you have not already, a documentary titled The Story of India. It has been produced by PBS and BBC, and it has been narrated by a famous English historian, Michael Wood. It's a 6 parts documentary, or you may be busy, and I would therefore suggest or rather commend that please do watch at least part 1 of this documentary. Or it is 24/7 available, it is free of cost available on YouTube. You will then see and understand the evolution of Hinduism and Hindutva, or call it Sanatan Dharma or Manav Dharma or the religion of humanity. I may also share with you that when Hindu Heritage Foundation of America was discussing and deliberating to host this conference, some wiser voices said, "But why this conference? Those who are closed heads, how will your education change them? Do you know you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink?" The response of the organizers was, "We very well know. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make him drink. But we don't know whether you know or not that Hinduism and Hindutva is the philosophy of Karmanyavadikaraste, which means you have under your control your karma, your action, and it is thus your duty, it is your bounden duty to perform your action with complete commitment and dedication. Result you should aim, but not worry about. However, the principle of cause and effect tends to assure that a good input and process leads to a good outcome. I would therefore say that this conference is being organized and presented first and foremost in the spirit of Karmanyavadikaraste, and secondly, The 21st century is a highly connected world thanks to information and communication technology. The 21st century is the world where only science, rationality, and functionality are respected. Dogma, paid, motivated agenda, rent a face are readily seen through and disrespected and abhorred. Those kind of elements may blare whatever they like, and sometime in the garb of free speech, but it does not cut ice. It doesn't stick. Some of you know this conference is being presented over 3 days, September 30th to October 2nd, 2021, US time, and October 1st to 3rd, India time, and rest of the world as per their time zones. It is being streamed live on Facebook, YouTube, and a dozen other media channels. And its, its recording will be definitely available for your watching later at your pace and place. Each session in this conference will be of 20 minutes each. So each day we will have 6 speakers. Each of the speaker is highly distinguished, expert, professional, accomplished, and celebrated in their own field of work and study. We shall have total 18 speakers from across the globe, from Japan, Australia, India, Bangladesh, United States of America. And these experts will represent all walks of life, including science, culture, business, education, and spirituality. I may say you are going to experience a great confluence and convergence of thoughts of experts from different walks of life, from different parts of the world. I use the word convergence because, as you may have heard from the mountaineers, Everest is there only. That is the Hinduism and Hindutva, the Everest of humanity. I congratulate and thank you for joining. I may as well share with you that as part of the conference schedule, we have kept an open discussion session both at the end of the second day and the third day. And we look forward to hearing your thoughts, comments, feedback, and suggestions during those sessions. As a matter of an important note, each speaker in this conference shall be presenting his or her personal views, and neither their employer organizations nor the organizing and supporting organizations of this conference will be responsible for the views expressed. The broad focus of the conference will be to highlight what is Hinduism and Hindutva, how Hindutva is the essence of Hinduism, and how Hindutva is good for the globe. The focus is on Hinduism and Hindutva as a practical philosophy of life that has worked for good for the humanity and you have heard the opinion of American leadership a little while ago from me. In this conference, we are concerned with Hinduism and Hindutva. That was there before the invaders and disruptors came to India. India that has been the seat of Hinduism and Hindutva. And that Hindutva and Hinduism that has survived even after all those invaders and disruptors. And have faith. Hinduism and Hindutva will survive forever. It is scientific, it is rational, it is functional, it is everlasting. I'm glad to now briefly introduce you to the speakers of this conference. Today, you will hear 6 speakers. You will hear Professor Sujata Tripathi. She is a Sanskrit scholar par excellence. You will hear Professor Sangeet Ragi, who is a well-known political scientist. You will hear Mr. Pranay Kumar, who is a well-known media personality. Dr. Ratan Sharma, an author, editor, and a TV panelist. Dr. Chandan Upadhyay, he is an academician and specialist in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And our 6th speaker of today will be Mr. Sandeep Singh, who is an educational and media leader. Tomorrow, the second day of the conference, you will hear Professor Milind Sathe. He is an Australian academician. Mr. Aditya Satsangi, he is a startup specialist and Vedic scholar in USA. Mr. Avnish Kumar Singh, an institution builder and educational leader. Mr. Pankaj Jaiswal, MNC executive, author and educationist. Professor Mini Srivastava, legal expert and an academician. Dr. K. Parmeshwaran, who is a constitutional law expert. And on the third and concluding day of this conference, you will have the privilege of listening to Mr. Shantanu Gupta, who is a community organizer. Mr. Deepen Mitra, he is from World Hindu Federation, Bangladesh chapter. You will hear Dr. Omendra Ratnu, who is a medical doctor and community leader. You will hear Mr. Rohan Agarwal, who is a Japan expert. And Swami Sachidanandji, a religious and cultural leader. The detailed profile of these speakers have been posted on our website, hindutvaforglobalgood.org. You may please visit there for this information and more information. And we sincerely thank all our esteemed speakers. Well, as the saying goes, you need a village to raise a child. It is as much true for a conference and is all the more true for a conference of the kind that we are hosting, a global conference. In this conference, we have been supported by 25 organizations and media partners. Our supporting organizations are Hindu Heritage Foundation of USA of America, Bhishma School of Indic Studies India, Yog Sadhana Ashram Chicago USA, Subhash Chandra Bose Institute of Higher Education India, Hindu Council of Australia, Hindu Ecosystem, National Institute of Mass Communication and Journalism, Ahmedabad, India, Vidya Bharati Alumni Association, Bharat Vichar Manch, Vedic Tree Foundation of Houston, USA, and World Hindu Federation. Our media partners are Sudarshan TV, the Jaipur Dialogues, Creately Media, Chronicle India, Sangam Talks, Panchjanya, OTT India, Hindu ecosystem, mind makers, Jambu Talks, Indic Vichar, Smart. Well, Smart is a group of more than 70 platforms, and Satya Parakh Bharat. We sincerely thank all our supporting organizations and media partners. Well, with these words, I once again welcome you all to this great Hindutva for Global Good Conference 2021, and I wish you well. Thank you all and namaste.
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्पुन्मि Is my voice is audible? I will start my speech with Guru Vandana. Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste to all the intellectual stars of the galaxy present on this platform. I am Professor Sujata Tripathi from Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri National Sanskrit University, New Delhi, India. And I am going to talk about Hinduism and Hindutva. Hinduism and Hindutva are the two different words which are very easy to pronounce but at the same time complicated to understand. The question about relationship or difference between Hinduism as a religion and Hindutva as a political ideology has come to the fore because the word Hindu is common to both. The word Hindut is morphologically of Sanskrit but was never used in that language by anyone. It is very modern Sanskritized neologism formed by suffixing twa to describe Hinduness or the quality of being a Hindu. As we all know, that Hindutva was first proposed as a political idea in 1923 by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. According to Savarkar, Hindus are those who consider India to be the land in which their ancestors lived, as well as the land in which their religion originated. Which land we are talking about? There is a verse in Kularav Tantra, Himalayam Samarambhe Yavadindu Sarovaram Tadev Nirmitam Desham Hindusthanam Prachakshate. Similarly, there is a verse, A Sindhu Sindhu Parayant Yasya Bharat Bhumika Pitribhu Punya Bhushchayu Savai Hinduriti Smritaha. This means the land from the Sindhu river, that is Indus River, till Sindhu Sea, that is Indian Oceans, is Bharat. And the person who believes this land as his mother is Hindu. When we talk about this political ideology, it was coined at the time when we were fighting against British rulers for our land. Savarkar was imprisoned between 1911 and 1924 for anti-British revolutionary activities. In 1923, while still in prison, Savarkar published the book that came to be the main ideological text of Hindu nationalism, Hindutva. And through this publication, he popularized the term Hindutva as a national identity. The irony is that since then till today, we are fighting to prove our identity. Circumstances are different though. All countries construct a national identity virtually, and what the word Hindutva insists that this identity must come with an acceptance of religious culture, that is Hinduism. When we talk about Hinduism, it is the coming together of thousands of thought processes which have taken millennia to form. We can say that Hinduism is, in many ways, is like a huge conglomerate rock which is bound together by the elements of a common philosophy, heritage, and culture. Or it is like a huge banyan tree with thousands of branches and twigs. The stem of this tree lies in the Vedas. The Vedas, meaning knowledge, are the oldest Vedic Sanskrit text of Hinduism, and they are the only exponent of the universal religion. It is equally difficult to ascertain the age of the Vedic religion because repeated and numerous invasions have destroyed many parts of the Hindu scriptures as well as the historical material, which could have convinced modern critics. Critics identify the time of Vyas, who collected the amorphous Vedas into four divisions, that is Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, and Atharva Veda. But Vyas was not the author of the Vedas, and in their origin, the Vedas were not recorded into writing. The Vedas represent a vast mass of learning which was handed down in the form of oral teaching of various sages called rishis to their disciples. That is why when we read Vedas, we come across the word mantra drashta rishi, rishi who saw the mantra. The Vedas were followed by the great epics Ramayana and Mahabharata. Maharishi Vedavyas is known to be the author of the Mahabharata as well as Puranas. To some generation preceding Vyas, Manu, the author of Manu Samhita, in his book mentioned the Vedas. Thus, we can say that the Vedic age would be at least in the third millennium before Christ, so that the age of Hindu religion in a modest computation would be no less than 5,000 years today. The foundation of Hinduism is universal and impersonal because it is not man-made but revealed from the Creator himself, who alone constitutes the ultimate truth. And if one asks for the existence of the Creator, then my dear friends, if creation is quite visible, then the Creator must be there. It is not possible to see the God with our limited sense organs because he is the object only of a transcendental vision. The Hindu rishis were gifted with such transcendental vision. They saw God as we see physical objects and proclaimed, I have seen the Almighty, effulgent as the sun. Behind this veil of darkness, knowing him, alone death can be overcome. This is from Shvetashvara Upanishad. Many scholars define Hinduism as a way of life and not essentially a religion. Hinduism has no particular creed or cult. It embodies as collective experience of universal principles, the principles of truth and spiritual law. Actually, Hinduism does not denote any dogma like other faiths, but refers to a belief in a certain fundamental principles of truth evolved by explorers in the transcendental world of spiritualism. In the Vishparma of the great epic Mahabharata, the divine song of Lord Krishna occurs in the form of the holy book Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is treasure house of dharma, the duty, not only for Hindus, but for all mankind. On September 11, 1893 in Chicago, Swami Vivekananda, a saffron-clad Hindu monk from India, delivered a speech at the Parliament Religion on the platform, where he said, Hinduism is the religion which has taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal tolerations, but we accept all religions as true. 128 years later, on September 10 to 12, 2021, people from across the globe joined together to condemn the same Hinduism from the platforms of the Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference. Hinduism, which is even declared by Supreme Court of India that it is a way of life, I wonder how it can be a threat to any creature in this world. It would have been appreciable, friends, if they would have named that conference Dismantling Global Terrorism. Outsiders have tried to make sense of Hindu religion of the world Hindutva from their predisposed lenses. Hindu scholars have done their fair part as well, from Swami Vivekananda to Sri Aurobindo and from M.K. Gandhi to V.D. Savarkar. They have contributed to our understanding of Hinduism. However, political ideology and vote bank policies immensely misunderstand Hindutva. They consider it static and as a hegemony. But the fact is that there is nothing compelling about this religion. This religion supports many gods and avatars. Even we worship cow, tree, sun, moon, nature, whatever is the cause of our survival. We are not the blind believers, but this is our gratitude towards the Creator, the Supreme Almighty. Social customs are the glue binding Hindus. Hindu speaks over 25 languages and over 800 dialects, and yet they are free to think differently. This is the real Hindutva. Misconception of Brahminical Hinduism is only the result of poor politics. If one reads text and scriptures of the religion, it will compel you to think in broader way. Hinduism preaches that anybody, irrespective of caste or birth or even of his past misdeeds, may acquire the divine grace and peace ere long, and while alive by means of unflinching devotion and surrender to God. This is clearly explained in the ninth chapter, 29th verse of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Samoham sarvabhuteshu. I am in all beings. To me, there is none hateful nor dear, but those who worship me with devotion are in me, and I too am in them. Similarly, in the same chapter, there is another verse. माम ही पार्थ व्यपाश्रित्य येपि स्यु पापयोनयः स्त्रियो वैश्यास्तथा शूद्रास्तेपि यान्तिम पराम गतिम. Those who are born out of the womb of sin. Sin, according to Vedanta, here is a wrong tendency in the mind, unhealthy thought, and negative living. Vaishya here means those who are with commercial attitude of the intellect, and Shudra, Shojati iti Shudraha, those who are with general dullness and are indifferent towards their duties are called Shudra. Even they attain the supreme goal through devotions. It is necessary not only for all Hindus but for all human beings to know a very ancient language, Sanskrit. There are countless Sanskrit scholars and researchers who can give correct interpretation to even a single word, which can have different connotation depending on the context of the subject. Through this, we all can get rid of misinterpretations of our scriptures and thoughts. Above all, the Indian Constitution enshrines secularism in its preamble. Rights and legal status of minorities in India are quite visible. Article 21 of the Constitution of India is for the protection of life and personal liberty. And all the articles in Indian constitutions are not meant specifically for Hindus, but for all the people who are living on this motherland, India. So, on the basis of my own understanding of Hinduism and Hindutva, my perception of the Hindu society, and the result of my search for factual information, I tend to believe that Hinduism and Hindutva represent humanism. With the theory of Atma, Karma, and Moksha, a Hindu believes that the identical goal of all religions, whatever be their forms, is the realization of that supreme being. The divine being exists in unseen worlds, and the temples, rituals, sacraments, devotions, and guru create communion between the individual and the supreme beings. Devam bhutva devam yajet, says Vedas. The goal of the Hinduism is not merely personal salvation, but welfare of service of the entire creation. Chanting of Om, keeping the Shikha, applying tilak, ringing the bell while worshipping, all these rituals are highly scientific. They activate the chakras in the human body. One absorbs all the positive energies which are sufficient enough to activate all the sense organs, and it helps to heal our mind, body, and soul. Anyone who follows all these practices gets benefited. So, my dear friends, Hindutva surely is the essence of Hinduism, and it is not only for global good, but for global excellence. Our nation is the result of the struggles and great sacrifices of many brave hearts. Let us honor them and give tribute to them by working hard for the development of our motherland and pledge to protect the peace and unity of our great nation. Finally, I would like to envelop my speech with the Vedic peace mantra, Shanti mantra, Om Purnamidah Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaye Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Dhanyavad.
Can I begin? Can I begin? A very, very good morning from India. The chairman of this session, the distinguished panelists and the participants of this in this conference. I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. I have deliberately chosen this topic because a lot of pejorative abuses have been thrown against the very idea of Hindu nationalism. The discourse narrators have deliberately made it to show to the world as if Hindu nationalism is a destructive ideology. It will destroy India. It is an intolerant ideology. So the whole purpose of my lecture is to understand, is it true? Is it true that the Hindutva is a divisive ideology? Is it true that Hindu nationalism is something which talks about a divisive ideology at all? Most of you must have heard in the public discourse that RSS wants to create a Hindu Rashtra. And I challenge my friends in academic fraternity who have written books, articles, and they always flag off their scholarship and their expertise on Hindu nationalism, that show me any line, even a single line, whether it is a resolution of the RSS or whether it is any speech of senior members in the RSS which suggests that the RSS wants to convert India into a Hindu nation. No. The matter of fact is that RSS position is that India is a Hindu nation. So this brings us to understand what actually the Hindu nationalists suggest. What are the core principles of Hindu nationalism? Let me suggest that the contributors to the idea of Hindu nationalism do not form a homogeneous group. Here you have a Gandhi who is talking against the cow slaughter, against the religious conversion, who is talking about India as a civilizational entity, a spiritual entity. Then also there is Dayanand Saraswati, who is not believing in the images of the gods. You have Savarkar, you have Golwalkar, you have Din Dayal Upadhyay, you have Aurobindo, you have Bankim, you have Vivekananda. So there is a whole tradition. But yet there are some common denominators. There are certain fundamentals which we academics say that minimum were almost all of them converge. So let me outline certain principles, and then I will leave it for the viewers that is it to judge whether it is a divisive ideology or it is not a divisive ideology. So what are the core principles? The first is that India is an ancient nation. It has three components. That the people of this land has the conception of territoriality. Second, that they had the conception of togetherness and attachment. Third, they understood that it is in one entity, not one entity in the modern political terms, but certainly in a geo-spiritual and a geo-cultural terms. Both this territoriality and geography got reflected in the Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Mata Bhumi Putro Aham Pratibhya, Yasya me Himavanto Mahitva Yasya Samudram Rasayashyaho. This is the Rig Veda. Prithvi Sukta of the Atharva Veda. And Digha Nikaya of Mahagovinda Sutta. They all are talking about the geographical territoriality of this nation. Digha Nikaya says that it is in a shape of a bullock cart, rectangular in the north to conical in the south. 45th stanza of Prithvi Sukta says that the people speak here different languages and dialects, form different sets of behavior, but this motherland feed them all. Vayu Puran, Matsya Puran, Vishnu Puran, they all are mentioning the term Bharatvarsha. So the conception evolved in the Rig Veda, and with the time it is getting consolidated. And when you come to Mahabharata, and when you go to Bhisma pub, name any Janpad, name any mountain, any river, big plateau, which is not being talked about. So the modernist definition of that, whether a nation is a modern entity or is an ancient entity, there is a debate in a scholarship. And they say that how nation, the idea of nation could be possible in the ancient time where people didn't used to meet. But here is the one, when you find that it is mentioned in Vishnu Puran. Here is one which talks about Arthashastra, the geography of India. There are several texts which are talking about it. Gange cha Jamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jale Ashwin Shannidhi Kuru. This was common to both the south and north of India. Let me conclude this point. That is why Gandhi said that if Brits could have one empire, this is what Gandhi is writing in Hind Swaraj in 1909. That if the British could have one empire, it was all because India was one nation. Gandhi is again reinforcing the idea. Our forefathers were not fools, that they created pilgrimages, they created mathas. They knew it very well that they can worship God even at home. But why did they create? They were the cultural boundaries. This is the argument which Gandhi is making in support of India as an ancient nation. You read Discovery of India. Even Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is saying that our nation India is an ancient nation. So, if RSS or any Hindu nationalist is arguing, it is very simple. In every nationalist narrative, you will be finding that, I talk about my mother. My mother is the most beautiful. My mother is the most rational. So glorification is one part, but at the same time, you look back to antiquity. Here, what we are saying that it is an ancient land. It is an ancient nation. The second point is, what Hindu nationalists say, that India is a chosen land. It is a chosen land with a divine mission. So what is that? The chosen land concept is not the one which is talked about in India also. Even the German philosophers have talked about. Mazzini has talked about. So what is that? So this land has a specific purpose. The God has created this land. It is a divine land. Ye dharam bhumi hai. This is the land of spirituality. So Golwalkar said that in rest of part of the world, the way messengers of God came, descended down. Here is the one. This is the avatar bhumi. Ishwar yahan swayam avatar leta hai. So this is a land of salvation. This is a land of emancipation, liberation. And therefore, the mission of India is not just the material prosperity. Gandhi even didn't believe it. That if we go for that, it is a civilization of Satan. What is important for India? Our civilizing mission is the spirituality. That is why Vivekananda is saying, जितना वेस्ट ने मटेरियल साइंस में प्रोग्रेस किया है, उतना हमने स्पिरिचुअल साइंस में प्रोग्रेस किया है. And third point, that India is a Hindu nation. So there are, I call it a personality theory of nation. What makes it? What makes you unique? What makes you distinct from the others? We all have nose, we all have eyes, we all have ears, but every one of you, I differ from my younger brother. I have my own personality, and my personality is distinguished by the dominant character that is within me. Even a compound, the dominant radical, there are positive radicals, there are negative radicals. When they combine together, there is a creation of compound. But the dominant element decides the character of the compound. So what is the dominant element? Remove Hindutva, remove Hinduism. India will be no more India. Hinduism is its identity. भारत का मन हिंदू है, भारत की व्यक्तित्व हिंदू है, भारत का चैतन्य हिंदू है. भारत हिंदू के बगैर भारत का अस्तित्व नहीं है. Second point is, when we say that it is a Hindu nation, then the second element of this is that this is the land of our forefathers. The theory of entitlement. This land belongs to us. This is the land of our forefathers. So it rejects the whole Aryan invasion theory. That we came from outside, we pushed the Dravidians towards the south, we conquered them and pushed them towards the south. No. It is the land of our forefathers, Dravidian. There is no Aryan invasion theory. We are one. The element of indigeneity. Because remember, the British Prime Minister Attlee had declared it in the British Parliament that we have the right to stay in India as much as the Hindus have and the Muslims have, because both were the conquerors. Look at Marx, how he is defining India. India doesn't have a history. India, if at all India has a history, it has a history of conquerors. So the Hindu nationalists are countering this argument that no, we are ancient civilization. It is a Hindu civilization. Another element of this is that the religion that our forefathers practiced was Sanatan Dharma, which came to be known as for outsider Hindu, and then we accepted it. The culture and the civilization that evolved was driven and influenced by the Sanatan Dharma, and therefore Hindu Dharma, Hindu culture, and Hindu civilization become synonym terms. There should be no confusion, because the dominant element of spirituality and religion of Sanatan Dharma has basically guided, shaped, and nurtured our life philosophy, our culture, our civilization. हम जब तक दूसरों को नहीं खिला लेते हैं, हम नहीं खाते हैं, ये हमारी सभ्यता है, ये हमारी संस्कृति है. Then another part is of this idea is that a Hindu philosophy is one who celebrates diversity. It is not a homogenizing. It is not a hegemonic religion. It doesn't destroy the diversity. Ekam sad vipra bahuda vadanti. सत्य एक है, हम उसे अन्य विभिन्न रूपों में उसकी बात करते हैं. But does Islam talk about? Does Christianity talk about? Do Semitic religions talk about all these things? No. So that is the whole thing. We don't talk about the Mano Jivan. We talk about the Lok Jivan. So that's why in the Bhagavad Gita says, हम पहाड़ों में ये हैं, हम सर्पों में ये हैं, हम नदियों में ये हैं, हम पर्वतों में. We had the whole organic cosmic life integrated with each other. So diversity is not that militates against the Hindu philosophy at all. Another point of the Hindu nationalism is that the protection, this diversity is just the manifestation of unity. It is not unity out of diversity. It is the diversity out of unity. There is a seed that grows into trees. They have roots. They have stems. They have leaves. They have fruits. But the same energy pockets runs through. And that is why Gandhi is saying, the outer manifestations of diversity, there is a inner thread that binds India together. And what is that? The RSS says that Hindu culture. Hindu culture. Next point, which RSS says that the protection of Hindu culture and Hindu civilization is must. This is what Hedgewar is talking about in 1930. How it is possible? This protection is possible only when the numerical dominance of Hindu continues. So what Vivekananda is saying, that even one individual going out of Hindu pale is not only reduction of one Hindu, but addition of one more enemy to the Hindu society. Remember, I am quoting Vivekananda. Anybody can Google it out. So, the whole discourse during the freedom struggle between Gandhi and Jinnah was whether there is a change in the nationality after change in the religion. Gandhi was saying that no, there is no change in, but we realized that the people who changed the religion were the one who were talking about the separation of this partition of this country, vivisection of this country. So the change in religion changes the whole outlook. Your images, your icons, your idioms. That is why Savarkar is saying that the de-Hinduization is the denationalization of the nation. That is why RSS is saying that जहां जहां हिंदू कमजोर होता है वो हिस्सा balkanization की तरफ बढ़ जाता है. After there was a time when our territories used to touch the extreme of Iran, here in towards Burma, but with the conversion, after all, even Gandhi is accepting that 85% of the Muslims were the converted Hindus, but they were the one who started talking about that no, we can't live together. So it is important to secure the numerical dominance of Hindu until and unless we protect it. The fate of, if you fail to protect it, then the India will not remain India. Over the decades, the whole narrative will change. With the change in the demography, we have seen what has happened in West Bengal. We have seen what is happening in the Western Uttar Pradesh. We have seen what happened in Kashmir. So tomorrow it will not happen in Assam, or tomorrow it will not happen in other parts of the country. It is not sure. That is why. And remember, we are pitted against two homogenizing and hegemonic traditions, religious traditions, who did their best to convert India, but they failed. And now they are in a minority. And importantly, their icons are in contest with the icons of Hinduism. So the contest in the history will continue in India. Because for them, it is Akbar who is the great. For us, Rana Pratap is the great. For them, it may be Aurangzeb is the great, but for us, it is Shivaji who is the great. So it is a contest in the contest in the history, because this is the historical, framework in which we are living. That they were the ruler at one point of time. They destroyed our temples. They destroyed our icons. And now the Hindus have become a dominant force. So that leads to contest. But remember, Hinduism is not, Hindu nationalists never have said that India should be converted into a Hindu state. Because RSS always have been talking about that theocracy is alien to us. Never in the history of India we have any theocratic state except for one, when the Shivaji Hindu Padsahi. Never in the history of it. Because we never thought along this line. So if you look at the parameters, that we are an ancient nation, we are a divine nation, वी आर ए चोजन नेशन, विधायास्य धर्मस्य संरक्षणम। हम ईश्वरीय विधान के अनुसार ईश्वरीय कार्य के लिए हम स्पिरिचुअल मिशन पर हम हैं। दिस इज द होल, दिस इज हाउ टैगोर इज डिफाइनिंग इंडियन नेशन। This is how Tagore is defining about the mission of India. Vivekananda is talking about the same. Gandhi is talking about the same. Where is Hindutva or the Hindu nationalism division? It is, I would be saying, the violence is not the essence. It is a reaction in response to the intolerant ideologies and expansionist ideologies of political Islam and political Christianity. जैसे पानी का स्वभाव होता है तरल होना, हिंदुत्व का स्वभाव भी तरल होना है। यदि वो मंकी कैप पहनता है तो जाड़े से बचाव के लिए पहनता है, उसका स्वभाव वैसा नहीं है। This is all that I have to say in my brief. I think I have crossed 1 minute. Thank you so much.
नमस्कार। अगले 20 मिनट हम हिंदुत्व सत्य और भ्रांति पर चर्चा करेंगे। सवाल यह है कि हिंदुत्व का ही दूसरा नाम सनातन दर्शन है, और सनातन दर्शन में सब कुछ सत्य ही सत्य है। सनातन का अर्थ ही यह होता है कि जो काल की कसौटी पर सदैव खरा उतरता हो। फिर यह भ्रांति क्यों आई और कहां से आई? तो विद्वान श्रोता एवं दर्शक जानते होंगे कि विगत 1000 वर्षों से हम सतत संघर्ष में रहे। हमने विदेशी विधर्मी आक्रांताओं का डटकर सामना किया। यह एक मिथ्या कुप्रचार है कि हम 1000 वर्ष से गुलाम रहे, बल्कि और देश के हर भूभाग में, देश के हर प्रांत में जब जब हमें अवसर मिला, हमने विदेशी विधर्मी आक्रांताओं को उखाड़ फेंका और हिंदू चिंतन, हिंदू दर्शन, हिंदू विचार को सदैव अपने हृदय में ऊंचा स्थान दिया। भ्रांति जो वास्तव में उत्पन्न हुई है वह स्वतंत्रता प्राप्ति के बाद अधिक हुई है। दुर्भाग्य से स्वतंत्रता प्राप्ति के बाद जिनके हाथों में सत्ता रही वे, और वह एक परिवार विशेष रूप से अंग्रेजियत के रंग में बुरी तरह रंगा हुआ था। उसकी जड़ें भारतीय नहीं रहीं और कोढ़ में खाज का काम किया वामपंथियों और क्षद्म धर्मनिरपेक्षतावादियों ने। लगातार सुगर कोटेड तरीके से हमारी युवा पीढ़ी के रक्त में परकीय पर मुखापेक्षी चिंतन को उतारा गया। उन्हें एक ही दिशा में सोचने के लिए अनुकूलित किया गया, कंडीशनड किया गया, जिसका परिणाम यह है कि आज हमारी युवा पीढ़ी हिंदू चिंतन, हिंदू विचार परंपरा, हिंदू दर्शन, अपने जीवन मूल्य, अपने संस्कारों, शत्रु मित्र के बोध, सम्यक और संतुलित और सही इतिहास बोध से वंचित हैं, कटे हुए। जो कुछ जुड़े हुए हैं वे सभी अपने परिवारों से उन हिंदू संस्कारों को ग्रहण करते हैं। परिवार हमारी सबसे बड़ी पूंजी और आधार है और दुर्भाग्य से परिवार पर भी उनका हमला जारी है। हिंदुत्व सत्य एवं भ्रांति, वास्तविकता एवं भ्रम, इस विषय को यदि समझना है तो हम सत्य को जान लें तो भ्रम अपने आप दूर हो जाएगा। अज्ञान ही भ्रम का कारण और ज्ञान ही भ्रम का निवारण है। तो हम पहले यह समझ लें कि हिंदुत्व क्या है, हिंदुत्व की वैश्विक अवधारणा क्या है, हिंदुत्व की विचार परंपरा क्या है। तो बहुत सरल शब्दों में हम यह जाने कि सदियों की तपस्या और अनुभव से हमने एक ऐसी जीवन पद्धति विकसित की जिसमें विचारों की स्वतंत्रता रही, पूजा पद्धति की विभिन्नता रहते हुए भी अपने अपने ढंग से ईश्वर को मानने की संकल्पना रही। उस चिंतन का नाम हिंदुत्व है। हिंदुत्व के चिंतन में, हिंदुत्व की ऋषि परंपरा में, हिंदुत्व की विचार परंपरा में मनुष्य का जितना समग्र और सर्वतोमुखी चिंतन हुआ उतना कहीं नहीं हुआ। हम में से अधिकांश विद्वान जानते हैं कि बाइबल ने, और अगर ओल्ड टेस्टामेंट आप पढ़ें और मनुष्य की उत्पत्ति की कहानी पढ़ें तो बाइबल ने घोषणा की कि मनुष्य पाप की उपज है। जो आज हमें वैज्ञानिक चिंतन की सीख देते हैं उन्हें एक बार विचार करना चाहिए कि मनुष्य की उत्पत्ति के उनके निष्कर्ष में कैसी असंगतता है। हम नहीं मानते कि मनुष्य पाप की उपज है, पर बाइबल कहता है कि मैन इज बॉर्न आउट ऑफ सिन। हम तो मनुष्य को ईश्वर का अंश मानते हैं, हम तो आत्मवत् सर्वभूतेषु की धारणा को सत्य मानते हैं, हम तो सर्वम खलविदम ब्रह्म को मानते हैं। हम तो मानते हैं कि आत्मा निराकार, निर्विकार, निरहंकार, अनादि और अनंत है। हम परमात्मा को भी ऐसे ही व्याख्यायित करते हैं कि परमात्मा निराकार, निर्विकार, निरहंकार, अनादि और अनंत है। चूंकि दो अनंत नहीं हो सकते, इसलिए हम मानते हैं कि आत्मा और परमात्मा दोनों एक ही सत्ता के अलग अलग नाम हैं। जो भेद है वो अज्ञान और अहंकार के कारण है। हमने गणित का यह सूत्र पढ़ा होगा कि इंफिनिटी प्लस इंफिनिटी इज इंफिनिटी, इंफिनिटी माइनस इंफिनिटी इज इंफिनिटी, और इंफिनिटी को हम अगर डिवाइड करें इंफिनिटी से तो इंफिनिटी होगा, इंफिनिटी को अगर हम मल्टीप्लाई करें इंफिनिटी से तो इंफिनिटी होगा। चूंकि दो अनंत नहीं हो सकते इसलिए दोनों एक हैं। तो हमने नर को नारायण की ऊंचाई तक पहुंचाया है। और ईसाइयत के बाद यदि हम विस्तारवादी, वर्चस्ववादी, राजनीतिक चिंतन, मजहबी चिंतन नहीं कह रहा हूं, क्योंकि हम में से हर एक को यह अपने मन मस्तिष्क में स्पष्ट रखना चाहिए कि मजहब, रिलीजन और धर्म समान नहीं है। अगर हम अनुवाद में चिंतन करेंगे तो त्रुटियां होंगी। धर्म जो करणीय है उसे कहा गया, धर्म जो धारण करने योग्य है उसे कहा गया, धर्म जो कर्तव्य है उसे कहा गया। और उस चिंतन को, धर्म को उस अर्थ में केवल भारत ने ही समझा और दुनिया तक पहुंचाया। वहीं दूसरी ओर मजहब और रिलीजन में तो एक ग्रंथ, एक पंथ, एक प्रतीक, एक पैगंबर के अलावा किसी अन्य को मानने की स्वतंत्रता नहीं है। सारा चिंतन ईसाइयत और इस्लाम में, ईसाइयत ने थोड़ा समय के साथ अपने को बदला, इस्लाम में आज भी युग विशेष तक सिमट कर रह गया है। उनका सारा चिंतन एक किताब में लिखी गई बात को सत्य प्रमाणित करने के लिए होता है। उनके मौलवी आज भी व्याख्यान देते हैं कि पृथ्वी चपटी है, पृथ्वी नहीं घूमती, सूर्य घूमता है। बजाबता लाइव व्याख्यान देते हैं। तो मनुष्य का और धर्म का हमने जितनी गहराई से चिंतन किया, दुनिया में किसी ने नहीं किया। हमारे यहां पिता का धर्म, पुत्र का धर्म, पत्नी का धर्म, पति का धर्म, गुरु का धर्म, शिष्य का धर्म, राजा का धर्म, प्रजा का धर्म, इस रूप में धर्म का प्रयोग मिलता है। यानी जो कुछ करणीय है व्यक्ति के लिए समाज, राष्ट्र और सृष्टि के परिप्रेक्ष्य में, उसे हमने धर्म कहा। हमारे धर्म में कहीं भी क्षुद्रता और संकीर्णता नहीं है। हमारा धर्म उपासना पद्धति और पूजा पद्धति तक सीमित नहीं है। हम हर पूजा के बाद जो जयघोष करते हैं उसमें कहते हैं कि धर्म की जय हो। हम ये नहीं कहते हिंदुओं की जय हो, हम ये नहीं कहते भारत की जय हो। अधर्म का नाश हो, प्राणियों में सद्भावना हो, विश्व का कल्याण हो। कहीं क्षुद्रता, संकीर्णता, संकुचितता का लवलेश भी इसमें दिखाई देता है। और चूंकि धर्म का इतना व्यापक चिंतन हुआ, इसलिए भारत ने, हिंदू धर्म ने, हिंदुत्व ने सृष्टि के अणु रेणु में एक ही परम तत्व के दर्शन किए, ईश्वर की सर्वव्यापकता की घोषणा की। हमने माना कि सृष्टि के कण कण में एक ही परम तत्व, परम चेतना मौजूद है, वही जो हम में है, वही जो आप में है। और इसीलिए ईसाईयत, इस्लाम और पूरा पश्चिमी चिंतन, यहां तक कि डार्विन, न्यूटन, रेने दिकार्ते या कार्ल मार्क्स तक विश्व को बांटने का काम करते रहे। उन्होंने विखंडनवादी दृष्टिकोण से मनुष्य और जीवन का अध्ययन किया। लेकिन हिंदुत्व ने, हिंदू धर्म ने समग्रतावादी दृष्टिकोण से मनुष्य का, इस संसार का, इस ब्रह्मांड का चिंतन किया। और सारे चिंतन में समन्वय की भावना प्रमुख रूप से मौजूद रही। सारे चिंतन में व्यक्ति और समष्टि के बीच में क्या संबंध है, इस पर बल रहा। हमारे यहां व्यक्ति की यात्रा परिवार से, समुदाय यानी बिरादरी से होते हुए समाज, राष्ट्र, सृष्टि और परमेष्टि तक जाती है। हम उसी को मोक्ष कहते हैं। ये जो संपूर्ण जगत है, उसके साथ मनुष्य के अंतः संबंध को ढूंढना और पा लेना, यही हमारे लिए मोक्ष है। हमने जो 4 पुरुषार्थ निर्धारित किए, उसमें हमने धर्म को आधार बनाया, लेकिन अर्थ काम की उपेक्षा नहीं की। हमारे यहाँ स्त्री पुरुष का मिलन पाप नहीं है। हमारे यहाँ संतानोत्पत्ति पाप नहीं है, बल्कि हमने सृष्टि के विकास के लिए उसको एक आवश्यक दायित्व और कर्तव्य माना। और इन सब 3 पुरुषार्थों के बाद ही अंतिम पुरुषार्थ मोक्ष की प्राप्ति की व्यवस्था हमने बनाई। तो पूरा पश्चिमी चिंतन, पूरा इस्लाम और ईसाईयत प्रणीत चिंतन 5 बिंदुओं पर टिका हुआ, मुख्य रूप से 4 बिंदुओं पर। पहला, वह मानता है कि अस्तित्व के लिए संघर्ष है। उन्होंने सर्वत्र संघर्ष देखा, हमने संघर्ष नहीं देखा। हमने सर्वत्र समन्वय देखा। हमने माना कि अस्तित्व के लिए संघर्ष सत्य नहीं है, उससे बड़ा सत्य समन्वय है। व्यक्ति व्यक्ति का, व्यक्ति समाज का, व्यक्ति राष्ट्र का, व्यक्ति विश्व का, व्यक्ति ब्रह्मांड का एक समन्वय चाहिए। मनुष्य का नदियों से, पेड़ पौधों से, जीव जंतुओं से समन्वय चाहिए। और उसी समन्वय की भावना के कारण हम सांप में भी भगवान के दर्शन करते रहे। हम अंधविश्वासी, पिछड़े, प्रतिगामी लोग नहीं थे। हमको चित्रित किया गया, चिन्हित किया गया, समझाया गया कि हम सांप के आगे बीन बजाने वाले लोग हैं, पेड़ों के इर्द गिर्द घूमने वाले लोग हैं, पत्थरों नदियों की पूजा करने वाले लोग हैं। लेकिन उसके पीछे का जो विज्ञान है, उसके पीछे का जो चिंतन है, उसे जानबूझकर साया षड्यंत्र पूर्वक कुचक्रों के द्वारा नई पीढ़ी को बताया नहीं गया। आज आप इकोसिस्टम की बात करते हैं, आज आप इको चेन की बात करते हैं, आज आप प्रकृति के संतुलन के लिए सांपों के अस्तित्व की रक्षा की बात करते हैं। आज कोई चैनल सेव टाइगर अभियान चलाता है तो बहुत बड़ा प्रकृति प्रेमी माना जाता है, और हम गाय की पूजा करते हैं, हम भगवान भोलेनाथ के बैल की, नंदी की पूजा करते हैं, तो हम पिछड़े हैं? नहीं, हम पिछड़े नहीं हैं। नई पीढ़ी को बताने की आवश्यकता है कि हम जानते हैं कि मनुष्य के अस्तित्व के लिए प्रकृति में जितने भी जड़ और चेतन हैं, सबका अस्तित्व आवश्यक है। तो हम नहीं मानते कि अस्तित्व के लिए संघर्ष सबसे बड़ा सत्य है, हम मानते हैं कि अस्तित्व के लिए समन्वय सबसे बड़ा सत्य है। पश्चिम ने और ईसाइयत और इस्लाम के चिंतन ने माना कि मानव जीवन में जो सर्वशक्तिशाली होगा उसी का अस्तित्व बनेगा। सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट की बात की उन्होंने। हम मानते हैं कि सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट ही नहीं सत्य है, फिट तो रहना ही चाहिए, स्वस्थ तो रहना ही चाहिए। शरीर के स्वास्थ्य की भी हमने चिंता की, हमने कहा शरीर माध्यम खलु धर्म साधनम। लेकिन शक्तिशाली बनने की बजाय, सारी शक्ति अपने लिए अर्जित करने की बजाय, हिंदू चिंतन में वृद्धों का, बुजुर्गों का, कमजोरों का, दिव्यांगों का, वंचितों का सबसे पहले चिंतन किया गया है। हमारी पूरी व्यवस्था जो सबसे अंतिम व्यक्ति है, सबसे कमजोर व्यक्ति है, सबसे दुर्बल व्यक्ति है, सबसे वृद्ध व्यक्ति है, उसके लिए है। हमारे परिवारों में व्यवस्था हुई कि जो वृद्ध है और बच्चा है जो बिल्कुल अर्जित नहीं कर रहा है, उसके लिए सबसे पहले भोजन की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए, उसके लिए सबसे पहले सुविधा की व्यवस्था होनी चाहिए। मार्क्स कहता था कि कमाने वाला खाएगा, खुद कमाना और खुद खाना यह तो प्रकृति है, दूसरों का छीन कर खाना विकृति है। और जो सबसे शक्तिशाली है परिवार का, वो अर्जित करे और अर्जित करने के बाद परिवार का भरण पोषण करे, वह त्याग करे। ये व्यवस्था हमारे यहाँ है। हमारे यहाँ जो सबसे अधिक कमाता है वो सबसे अधिक त्याग करता है, परिवार का मुखिया सबसे अधिक त्याग करता है, वृद्धों की सबसे पहले चिंता की जाती है, बच्चों की सबसे पहले चिंता की जाती है। तो हम नहीं मानते कि सर्वाइवल ऑफ द फिटेस्ट, सर्वशक्तिशाली का अस्तित्व ही अक्षुण्ण रहेगा। और एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ नेचर, पूरा पश्चिम के चिंतन ने, ईसाइयत की के सिद्धांत ने कि ये संपूर्ण दुनिया गॉड ने तुम्हारे लिए बनाई है। उनके गॉड या उनके अल्लाह आसमान पर रहते हैं, धरती पर आते ही नहीं। वह उनका गॉड और अल्लाह हमारे ईश्वर से भिन्न है। बाइबल ने कहा कि ये पूरी दुनिया तुम्हारे लिए, इसका उपभोग करो, और उसके कारण से इतना अंधाधुंध शोषण हुआ प्रकृति का कि हम उसकी कल्पना नहीं कर सकते। आज पूरा विश्व पर्यावरण संबंधी चिंताओं से गुजर रहा है। आज पूरा विश्व संकट के मुहाने पर आकर खड़ा हो गया है, उस चिंतन के कारण जिसमें उन्होंने उपभोग को ही सर्वोपरि माना, मनुष्य को सबसे शक्तिशाली माना, मनुष्य को ब्रह्मांड का, प्रकृति का अंग नहीं मानते हुए, पूरक नहीं मानते हुए, उसका हिस्सा नहीं मानते हुए उसे स्वामी के रूप में चित्रित किया। जबकि हमने प्रकृति को मां के रूप में देखा। हम नहीं मानते कि प्रकृति का शोषण केवल अपने लिए कर लें, इस चिंतन को ही हम गलत मानते। एक्सप्लॉयटेशन ऑफ द नेचर हमारी सोच में नहीं था। हम जब आत्म केंद्रित हुए, पश्चिम आधारित स्वार्थ हमारे जीवन पर हावी हुआ, उसके बाद प्रकृति का शोषण हमारे यहां प्रारंभ हुआ। आज भी हम कहते हैं कि प्रकृति मां है, और मां का स्तनपान, मां का दूध बच्चा उतना ही ग्रहण करता है जितना उसकी भूख के लिए, उतनी उसकी आवश्यकता के लिए आवश्यक है। वह यह नहीं चाहता कि सबके हिस्से का खुद खा ले। आज पूरी दुनिया में जो विकसित देश ज्ञान दे रहे हैं पर्यावरण को लेकर के, या सृष्टि के जो संसाधन है उसके उपभोग को लेकर के, वे एक बार अपने गिरेबान में झांक कर देखें कि विश्व के संसाधनों का, प्राकृतिक संसाधनों का वे कैसा अंधाधुंध शोषण कर रहे हैं। नदी, पर्वत, पेड़, पौधे, सब में हमने ईश्वर के दर्शन किए। और इंडिविजुअल राइट्स, पूरा पश्चिम इंडिविजुअल राइट्स की बात करता है। जो विकसित अवस्था में, ईसाइयत और इस्लाम से आगे। हम नहीं मानते कि मनुष्य इंडिविजुअल है, बल्कि हम यह मानते हैं कि मनुष्य इस विश्व ब्रह्मांड से अंगांगी भाव से जुड़ा हुआ है और इस एकता को अनुभूत करना ही हिंदुत्व के चिंतन का सार है। मैं समझता हूं कि हिंदुत्व की भ्रांतियों को हम तभी दूर कर पाएंगे जब हम हिंदुत्व के वास्तविक दर्शन को समझेंगे। धन्यवाद।
Sorry, the chat was on my top. I couldn't see the mic is off. I'm starting again. Extremely sorry. Namaskar, everybody. Namaskar, the global Hindus. Namaskar, the people who are listening to this talk. It's a wonderful initiative. My topic is Hindutva for world peace and environment. As we all know, Indians are present in over 100 countries today, or we may say that they are present in nearly every country. They get assimilated into the society where they migrate, and even where they are forced to migrate, like case of Fiji, Mauritius, Trinidad, Guyana, etc. No country can complain about lawlessness due to Hindus or complain of they being drained on the society or the economy. In fact, they are an asset in every society they go. This is the literal expression of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, world is one family. Hindus had spread around the world even in ancient times, being dominant in trade. This is proven by ancient relics, most importantly murtis and worshipped idols, popping up around the world during excavations around the world. Right from Americas to Middle East to Europe, Asia, all the places. Most importantly, we can still see the influence in places like China, Southeast Asia, and all the entire Southeast Asia and Japan. However, there are no documents that have been recovered which show that Hindus had destroyed any civilization or converted people by force. They are still remembered fondly with respect wherever they had reached, much different from the way erstwhile colonizers are being remembered, that is, the essence of Hinduness. They respect every faith, every civilization. They assimilate it or they get assimilated without giving up their uniqueness or asking others to give their uniqueness up. Hindus don't claim that theirs is the only religion that is true and that only their God is supreme. They say mine is true and yours is true too. True too. They have inherited the Vedantic view, which many people have repeated, that all truth has many ways, all lead to one. And this is why I say that we can only echo Swami Vivekananda, what he spoke in Chicago many years back. It is strange that a community that has been forced the worst Holocaust for centuries, that saw millions perish, whose killings were glorified by the invaders by piling up skulls like towers and measured the killed ones with the weight of their sacred threads, Geneva is painted negatively, and those who wrought such miseries on them are glorified. Despite this noble, inclusive, democratic faith, its pluralism, there have been a sustained efforts to create Hinduphobia. Hindus need to come out of the dark shadows created by the obsessed dismantlers. I think Hindu society punches far below its weight. It is high time Indians begin addressing world community at large. I have met Chinese, British, USA think tanks and consulate officials, and many times I see that they are surprised at their lack of knowledge of Indian history and culture. When you tell them any information, give them information, they said we never knew it. Because the world libraries are full of anti-Hindu books, they are full of Hinduphobia, they are full of the books which actually wipe away the horrendous history and the glorious past of India both. In the last century, three dominant thoughts have been in conflict and brought destruction on the societies and nature. Imperialist colonist nations rode on the shoulders of church, justifying the brutal oppression of the indigenous people and slavery using the book. Different books, but all books being used to spread their imperialism and also oppress the local people. Only Hindus have never justified slavery, but even that was justified these people of the book. They wrought indescribable destruction of the nature and the people. Islam, Christianity, communism, believing in only our way, have destroyed more lives and civilizations than even the natural catastrophe in their belief that they have a duty and a mission to convert others to their worldview. If you realize that only Hindus have no concept of non-believer or a kafir or a sinful, how they destroyed the civilizations, to quote Swami Vivekananda from his Chicago address, sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled earth with violence, drenched it often with human blood, destroyed civilizations, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been those horrible demons, human society would have been far more advanced than it is now. So this is how we have been, the world has been exploited and put into a horrendous place by these people. The competing ideologies of capitalism and communism strove to prove material comfort to the society and in the process exploited the nature mercilessly in a way that today we are literally on the edge. The earth is literally on the edge. Climate change and ecological disasters have become more and more severe. They believe that only human beings matter, not other living beings or nature. Only difference between the two ideologies has been who owns the resources, individual or the state. None of them realize that man does not live by bread alone. In Hindu worldview, there is not just physical but spiritual dimension to human beings. They need to satiate the spiritual hunger too. This is the integral view of human being and the society, and this is what is required by the world today. The failure of these systems has led to decay in the institution of family. Not only families, actually destruction of families, not just decline. Annihilation of man-woman relationship in the name of individual freedom and huge number of children who are being raised by single parents or the state. The extreme form of individualism, which talks only of self-satisfaction and self-rights, has to be replaced by the old Hindu dictum of family and society with sense of duty and dharma, which is bound by the sense of dharma. Only that can lead to peace, and that can lead to a better society, better family. Because if family is happy, the society is happy. If society is happy, the nation is happy. Today in West, more than 30% children are on antidepressants officially, legally, because of these problems. In the words of Professor R. Vaidyanathan, in the West, families have been nationalized and industry and commerce have been privatized. At the end of it all, these efforts for super luxurious, hunger-free life, people are still not sure if they are indeed happy, and more people turn to East, to Hindu Dharma, to Buddha, to satiate their spiritual hunger and find purpose to life. None of the hundreds of peace accords have brought peace because for peace one needs to give and take, win some, lose some. Expansionism and colonialism has only changed the form. Mentality is same, to corner the resources and to accumulate. Powerful nations, MNCs, IT giants need to concede that others can have a legitimate point of view and mindset. The people who wish to control the destiny of the nations need to accept that we all have right to peaceful life the way we are, not the way others want me or want you to be. And this is a big point, that we let people be, we let people the way they want to live. This is where Hinduness or Hindu way of life is very important. If we wish to prosper together, live together, what has India, that is Bharat, the longest living civilizations, to offer? I'll summarize. There is one truth that wise ones describe in different ways. It is the only way to reduce conflicts. We need to celebrate the idea of Republic of Faiths, where diversity of thought and expression is respected and enjoyed. We can have harmony, but we cannot have uniformity. The effort to create a uniform civilization through the eyes of West has created havoc in the societies where they've gone. Does West know that only Hindu Dharma has had no problem with LGBT and it did not treat them as criminals? That is the beauty of Hindu Dharma. We need to treat world as one family, not as one market, to be exploited by the powerful. Refusal to part with IPR of the COVID vaccine by the big MNCs, vis-a-vis the way India offered its source code, offered its services to the world. Their well-wishers versus the readiness of India to share its typical example is the approach. This is truly the reflection of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Our rishis never demanded copyright. They never kept a secret. In fact, they pass on the knowledge to the society, to their successors. That is how knowledge has been passed on in India for generations. We don't hold back knowledge. We share knowledge. We need a health system that is preventive, not prescriptive. We prefer prescriptions for the sick and keep finding new drugs for the new diseases. We need to strive for holistic health of mind and body. That is yoga and Ayurveda, the science of life. Why India sees less mortality among the aged? If you look at the COVID situation today, why India had the low mortality among the aged? Because families took care of the elders, not old age homes. Because social organizations took upon themselves to fight pandemic and help each other, not look upon the state or central governments. Institution of family is a blessing. It's not a curse as left would have us believe. It will be difficult for people in the West to imagine that more than 1 million people were on the roads to help the troubled victims, whether they were sick, whether they were unemployed due to lockdown. The society itself continuously helped them. It was not left to the governments to take care of the people. So this is the reason there are less traumas in post-COVID world. There are less psychological issues because families took care. Families took care not just of the sick but also their mental health. Upanishad wisdom says, "Tena tekten bhunjita." Take only that which is sufficient for your requirements. Do not accumulate more than required, as it is undesirable. Jain sages called this quality as aparigraha. In the world of Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Earth has enough for our needs, but not our greed. It is noted by the observers that if every country wants the consumption levels of the citizens of USA, it would take 7 or 8 Earths to support such a consumption. Hindu approach of controlling your consumption is the prescription for overcoming our urge to acquire and accumulate at any cost. Next message is respect nature. Hindus don't deify nature and animals because they are superstitious. They do it to instill respect for those elements of nature that help us live our lives. If biodiversity thrives, we can live. If nature survives, we can survive. The Western idea of conquering the nature is very shallow idea. We need to respect the nature and work with the nature. We have seen enough in the last 2 years to understand how a simple wink of the nature leaves entire civilization out to conquer nature, leaves it in tatters. Hindus are the only people who have Shanti mantra or prayer for peace which wishes peace not just for human beings, the two-leg, but also for the four-leg, for the creatures and the plants and the nature. Herein lies the secret of saving the planet and us. Lastly, West needs to follow the idea of karma. You are responsible for the consequences of karma, your action. You cannot exploit human beings, you cannot kill human beings, you cannot destroy nature and then expect something good to happen on the day of the judgment. There is no day of the judgment. Day of the judgment is today. And for that today, we have to take care of our own actions. We have to take responsibility of our own karma. That is the principle. You can't take the responsibility and expect Almighty to save you from the consequences. We need to own up our actions and their consequences. There is more to India than the caste system that is thrown upon us. We need to work hard to share the beauty of the Hindus' culture, traditions, and knowledge systems, which is not just mysticism, but hard science. My topic is not today the prosperity of India, the way it shared the prosperity with the world. So I am not talking about that. I am told that you are better heard in the West if you play victimhood card, but I don't believe so. My view is that Hindus need to assert themselves by sharing their strength and also talk about true history of their achievements as well as persecution, not play victim card. I hope our global Hindu brethren can spread this message of holistic harmony and help world achieve peace and leave behind a better environment that our future generation can enjoy. Dhanyavad.
Namaskar. I am Chandan Upadhyay, and my topic for today's conference is Hindutva, good for global prosperity. So if you look into Hindutva and Hinduism as such, we mostly derived our understanding from the scriptures. And then one of a very important scripture is our Isa Upanishad. And I'm going to quote the very first line of the Isa Upanishad where we say that Isa Vasimidam Sarvam Yat Kinch Jagatya Jagat. That means that the God is present everywhere in every entity, from tiny molecule to the vast universe, whatsoever you can imagine it. So in Hindi it means that this Basva Gati में इस अत्यंत गतिशील समष्टि समाज में जो भी दृश्यमान गतिशील जगत है वो ईश्वर के लिए उपलब्ध है, ईश्वर वहां वास करता है. Now imagine a situation when you started looking into the world from this point of view, that whatsoever I am looking into, there is a place for God in that. And the moment you started realizing it, that the God is around me or in every entity, so think about how your perception will change. So it's such a beautiful concept. Okay, it immediately leads to an universality. The universality in time, universality in place, universality in space, irrespective of whatsoever your place is, whatsoever your age is, whatsoever your religion is, whatsoever your race is, it become invariant. And then this universality is actually the very core and thrust of the Hinduism. Okay, so in case of this Hindu philosophy and the guiding principle for the Hindu philosophy, that means that this is a universal philosophy. It's not that something to be a place is specific. It's not India is specific also. So this we must understand, and one need not to be born in a Hindu family, or you need not to be born in India that to follow Hinduism. So that's one message we have to understand, that our very core philosophy of Hinduism are the Sanatana Dharma, they both are not same, is universality. Okay, that's the point number one. And then the Hindutva, which is, I think, is the most abused word in current situation. It happens because of how we are interpreting it. The problem starts when we started looking into the meaning of Hindutva from the point of view of the Western's definitions. And I find it very ironical that a word which is very core to Sanskrit has been interpreted by Oxford in a very different way. So the very first thing we should be doing is to discard the definition which is being propagated by the English dictionaries. One can take a simple example, let's say. Take Dev and Devatva. I mean, many of you might be following a bit of Hindi. So what it actually means, Arse Manusya and Manusyatva. Okay. So when we look into these two, that simply means that, being in the state of. So, I mean, Dev and Devatva, when we say Devatva, that means that being in the state of a divine. When we say Manusatva, that means that being in the state of a human being. So simply the Hindutva means that being in the state of a Hindu. And then we have realized that, what the Hindu philosophy is. So the first thing we have to clear about is we have to discard the English definition which has been imposed on us from last 45, 50 years or so. Go for the proper the definition that and adopt it, and that that being Hindutva means that we are in the state of a Hindu. That's one message. The another message which we have to take it from the meaning of the Hindutva. So now coming to the topic of the this seminar which I have selected is that when we take Hindutva as our guiding principle or as our core philosophy, okay, we follow it, or anyone who take it, the person follow it by mansa, vacha and karmana. It's not only that you just read the definition, you just learn about it, you just adopt it in your life, not only through your the acts, but your thinking process is also guided by the very core of the Hindu philosophy. Your actions are also guided by the very core of this philosophy. So that's the another point which we have to take it. And then the moment we are looking into this word from the Hindutva philosophy, it immediately leads to a few properties. For example, adaptability. The moment you started seeing, every individual being is a place where the God resides, you started accepting the person. That's the very beautiful concept of the Hinduism. The second quality which Hinduism impart is, the inclusiveness. It doesn't differentiate. It doesn't say that, okay, you are following Jesus, or you are following somebody else, or you are following this or that, or you are following the whole Abrahamic religion. The Hinduism doesn't discard it. So that's the inclusiveness is there. Yes, of course, we have to protect our interests, but the discardness doesn't come. So the inclusiveness is very much is the second very key point. The third is the harmony. You never find it a Hindu in conflict with either within or with the outside world. Okay. Whereas if you look into the concepts of the Western religion or Western belief systems, you find that originate the origin itself is from the struggle, as it has been elaborated by previous speaker, that it goes into, you know, the struggle is down there. And then what happened, that the harmony can be, you know, imparted in. Then another very important point which Hinduism or Hindutva impart is spiritual democracy. Okay. Even in case of a Hinduism or Hindu belief system, we find that there are several panth, that you are free to pursue the God in whatsoever way possible. It's no restriction is there. It's not that you have to follow a single book, or you have to follow this scripture, you have to follow that particular deity, to follow this particular philosophy. Okay, even in case of a Hindu philosophy, people are free to choose their own way. People are free to express themselves in their own way. And yeah, that's it. So what we find that there are, you know, 4 key points: adaptability, inclusiveness, harmony, and spiritual democracy. These are the key features of the Hindutva foundation. So that's the another point. In other, you know, philosophies, when they look into the Hindu philosophy or Hindu core element, what troubles the other philosophies is when spirituality and prosperity going together in Hinduism. Okay, that's a concept which is alien to the Westerners, and when they look into the Hindu philosophy, it's very much possible to be spiritual and prosperous at the same time. And why these conflicts come? The conflicts comes because the concept of the prosperity as conceived by the Westerner philosophers is quietly skewed, actually. In case of a Western philosophies, the prosperity means that the more you can accumulate, the more you can consume, the more you you know, snatch it from other, you are more prosperous or so. Okay. It's more about the wealth ascetization rather than, you know, something else. Whereas in case of the Hindu philosophy, what you find is that it's more about the affluence. Okay. Affluence means that, let's try to understand what affluence means. Affluence means that you have this feeling that I have more than sufficient what I need, actually. The moment you started looking into your, you know, surroundings, or you are looking into your own way of living, and started analyzing that, do I have more than what I need? Okay, and if you analyze it properly, you will find that it's actually you know, you have much more than what is needed for your very happy and, you know, luxurious life. So accumulation is not going to help. And if as Professor Dr. Sarda has said, that if we adopt a Western lifestyle, we will be probably needing 6 or 8 Earths to actually fulfill the need of the entire human population. A single Earth has been destroyed like anything, and then from where you will get, you know, the resources equivalent to 6 to 8 Earths. Okay, so the asset accumulation and consumption driving mindset is not going to help. It's not going to help Earth. It's not going to help even humanity itself. So we have to have a radical change in the mindset that the consumption and ascetization is not going to help. Okay, so the prosperity, the concept of the prosperity has to be understood. And that is that you must learn and have this feeling that I have more than sufficient what is needed for me. So and there comes the the conflicts that the Western world doesn't realize that the prosperity can be taken up in that way. So coming to and I don't blame them actually. The reason is that they have been trained that way, that you are here to consume it. I mean, this earth is for your enjoyment, or so. That's what the guiding principle is. So that has to go away. And now coming about the affluence of the wealth, which the Hinduism defines. Hinduism doesn't say that you can have only wealth and therefore you should be affluent only the wealth. So as far the prosperity is concerned, there is of course affluence of wealth, but then it's mostly talk about affluence of knowledge. Okay, so there is always a quest of acquiring knowledge as much as you can. There is affluence of fame, that you do your deeds in such a way that you become famous, people respect and recognize you. There is an affluence of strength. Strength doesn't mean that is strength to punish someone or kill someone. It has a very different notion. Affluence of beauty. And finally, the most important one is the affluence of the detachment. It's only the Hindu philosophy which talks about the affluence of the detachment in its very core. So in pursuit of prosperity, one just simply cannot pursue only wealth. The pursuit of the prosperity should be all six: strength, wealth, knowledge, fame, and beauty. Okay, and top of that is the detachment. So that has to be taken care when we talk about the prosperity. And why it is good for the global, why the philosophy, this whole governing philosophy is good for globe. Just think that if we implement the two contradicting philosophy, just imagine the situation where when we talk about affluence of detachment, and in another scenario we talk about affluence of wealth and accumulation of the assets. Ask this question yourself, that which one is going to survive, which one is going to make you and make and provide a conducive environment for humanity to survive. Okay, can we sustain if each and every individual started accumulating as much as he or she can? The answer is definitely no. I mean, there's no way that through this the assetization or accumulation the humanity is going to survive. The only way one can actually think about doing the things in by looking for the detachment. So taking the second line again from the same slok, we can say that the second line goes that after the isavasya sarva isavasyamidam sarvam yat kin jagatya jagat. The second line goes as teen tak teen bhunjita ma kritkasya swasiddhanam. Take only that what is needed. And with that I conclude. I hope that the message is conveyed, and thank you very much for this platform.
Namaste everybody. I am Sandeep Singh from Mumbai. I thank the organizers for organizing Hindutva for Global Good Conference 2021 and giving me an opportunity to put forth my views. घमंड कर प्रचंड कर, घमंड कर प्रचंड कर, तांडव सा युद्ध कर भयंकर, रक्त गिरेगा माटी तरेगी प्यास बुझेगी हो, रक्त गिरेगा माटी तरेगी प्यास बुझेगी हो, दुश्मन कटेगा धरती सजेगी हिंदुस्तान सजेगा हिंदुत्व सजेगा हो, दुश्मन कटेगा धरती सजेगी हिंदुस्तान सजेगा हिंदुत्व सजेगा हो, हिंदुत्व ही हमारे शीश का श्रृंगार है, हिंदुत्व ही हमारे शीश का श्रृंगार है, घमंड कर घमंड कर घमंड कर घमंड कर. On 25th September 2021, Times of India has called Dismantling Hindutva a great war cry. Before this, at the Dismantling Hindutva conference, similar thoughts were expressed. I like to tell the enemy that Hindus have picked up the gauntlet. A conference will be met with a better conference. A hate speech will be answered with a more powerful and better speech. I like to remind those behind the great war cry that an anti-Hindu article will be countered with a factual article and so on and so forth. And yes, if someone wants to move from theory to practical, rest assured he or she will be answered by a more brutal and ferocious practical on the lines of legendary Gopal Patha, Birsa Munda, Udham Singh, Madan Lal Dhingra, Chapekar Bandhu, Surya Sen, Dhiran Chinnamilai, Rani Chennamma, Jhansi Ki Rani, Kumar Singh, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru, Chandrasekhar Azad, Anant Lakshman Kanhare, Khudiram Bose, Praful Chaki, Satyendra Nath Bose, Kanai Lal Datta, Vanchinta Iyer, Krishnaji Gopal Karve, Vaikuntha Shukla, Jai Rajguru, Bakshi Jagabandhu, and the list is endless. ये भागवत का सार है कि युद्ध ही तो वीर का प्रमाण है. ये भागवत का सार है कि युद्ध ही तो वीर का प्रमाण है. कौरवों की भीड़ हो या पांडवों का नीड़ हो, जो लड़ सका वही तो महान है. कौरवों की भीड़ हो या पांडवों का नीड़ हो, जो लड़ सका वही तो महान है. क्या जिंदगी है ठोकरों पे मार दो, मौत अंत है नहीं तो मौत से भी क्यों डरे. क्या जिंदगी है ठोकरों पे मार दो, मौत अंत है नहीं तो मौत से भी क्यों डरे. A Hindu comes from 5 elements, that's Panch Tattva, and he goes back to Panch Tattva and again comes out of it, and this is Hindutva. The Panch Tattvas are earth, water, fire, air, sky and space. The foundation of the entire cosmos is based on these 5 elements. All the living and non-living entities of this world are composed of Panch Tattva or 5 elements. As long as Panch Tattva, that is 5 elements are there, cosmos is going to be there, Hindutva is going to be there. The Hindu Dharma says that the cosmos itself undergoes an immense, indeed an infinite number of death and rebirths, something accepted by today's science too. Hindutva is eternal truth like cosmos. Hindutva can never be dismantled. 5 senses, hearing, touch, sight, taste and smell, is related to the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, sky and space. Puja offered by Hindus is sensuous. It makes full use of the senses, seeing, touching, smelling, tasting and hearing. One sees the image of the Bhagwan, one touches it with one's hand, and one also touches the limbs of one's own body to establish the presence of various Bhagwans. One hears the sacred sound of the mantras, the ringing of bells, the pouring of water and milk. One smells the fragrance of the offering of diya, the presentation of flowers. One tests the Charnamrit and the Bhog. All this is puja, encompassing Panch Tattva, and this is Hindutva. The Hindu temple is a representation of the cosmos. Angkor Wat is a miniature replica of the universe in stone and represents an earthly model of the cosmic world. If my memory serves me right, Adarni Atal Bihari Vajpayee had put it beautifully when he said, जब मैं खुद को भारतीय कहता हूं तो मैं पूरे विश्व से जुड़ता हूं, और जब मैं खुद को हिंदू कहता हूं तो मैं पूरे ब्रह्मांड से जुड़ता हूं. In English, when I say I am a Bharatiya, I get connected to the whole world. But when I say I am a Hindu, I am connected to the cosmos. Every Hindu is connected to cosmos. This is Hindutva. Dismantling Hindutva means dismantling the cosmos. Undoubtedly, only a foolhardy can make such statements. But I am not surprised. After all, it is coming from a civilization which used to think that lambs grow on tree in Bharat and cotton is produced from them. They realized the truth only after coming to Bharat. This is the same civilization which used to think earth is flat, punished scientists who said sun is stationary and earth revolves around it. Western civilization has a history of punishing its scientists. This is the civilization which took hundreds of years to understand zero and integral calculus after learning it from Bharat. While the oldest inscription of zero anywhere in the world is found in a mandir in Bharat. Do not forget that not only the artifacts in the Museum of Western world are stolen, mostly from Bharat, but also most of the science in their laboratory has its origin in Bharat. How the church stole the art of making calendar from Bharat is well documented. In this background, it will be unfair on the parts of Hindus to think that the Western civilization will understand an evolved concept called Hindutva. It will take them anywhere close to 1,000 years at least to understand Hindutva. With this, let's move to Hinduism. Let me start with ism. The first recorded uses of the suffix ism as a separate word in its own right was as recent as in 1680. With the suffix used for the first time in 1680, Western civilization is trying to define the eternal dharma that is Hindu. This is the reason why I say they'll need another 1,000 years to understand Hindutva. In the United States of the mid-19th century, the phrase the isms was used as a collective derogatory term to lump together the radical social reform movements of the time. In 2004, the Oxford English Dictionary added 2 new draft definitions of ism to reference their relationship to word they convey injustice. First, forming nouns with the sense belief in the superiority of one over another as racism. And the second, forming nouns with the sense discrimination or prejudice against on the basis of as ageism, bodism, etc. Ism is a negative. Not surprisingly, the anti-Hindu want to define Hindu dharma using ism. Hope Hindu fans of secularism will wake up after learning this. The greatness of Hindu dharma is such that whoever comes in the contact achieves salvation. Does not matter if it's a human being or a mere word. Sai Baba of Shirdi became Hindu from Muslim and achieved salvation. While Jesus Christ is trying for more than a century, Jesus Christ has got Purana and other Hindu prayers copy-pasted in his name. He has even asked his followers to follow the puja paddhati of Hindus. Sometimes Jesus Christ sits in the pose of Hindu saints and sometimes dresses in saffron robe. Jesus Christ has even changed his residence in Bharat, and in many places instead of church he sits in a mandir, because he also knows that he will get salvation only if he is accepted in Hindu dharma. Only time will tell if he will get blessed by Hindu dharma or not. Now, ism has taken backdoor into Hindu fold by suffixing itself with Hindu, and it will also achieve salvation. But before proceeding further, it's important to note that Western civilization has always tried to define Bharat and Hindu dharma with their own framework, using their own words and nomenclature, which they later used to divide and ridicule Hindus. Some of the prominent examples of the same are words like caste for Jati and Varna, or nomenclature like elephant god or monkey god for Bhagwan Ganesha and Bhagwan Hanuman respectively. They let these words and nomenclature spread roots in the literature, films, and through that in the psyche of masses, and then they unleash their ulterior motive in the society using these very words and nomenclature. Let me cite one example of how the change in nomenclature by British damaged the protein consumption of Hindus. When the British came to Bharat, they were incredibly rich cereals, millets being grown and consumed in Bharat. British didn't know the importance of cereals and millets. They used them to feed them to their birds, cattle, and livestock. That is how our lentils were named chickpea, cowpea, pigeon pea. British saw them as inferior foods. They recognized only rice and wheat. The British classified our local cereals, apart from wheat and rice, and it's a classification we accepted and used for decades, and I think even now in our government documents, as coarse cereals. These are ironically incredibly nutritious and sustainable cereals. This was the downgrading of Indian foods and species. We absorbed that and paid a heavy price. Hindus were told they must eat non-vegetarian food to increase their protein content. This was a shift from Hindutva to Hinduism. Chickpea or Bengal gram Or chana dal is high in carbohydrates, protein, and rich in calcium, iron, and vitamin A, B, and C. It survives today because of prasad, that is laddu. Bundi ke laddu is made of chana dal, high in protein and low in fat. It's a healthy food. Chana dal survived because of our mandirs and puja paddhati. And we Hindus could get our share of carbohydrates, protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, B, and C without killing other living beings. This is the power of Hindutva, mandir, puja, and nomenclature too. West has given another world called globalization, which sees the world as a market. And what they have given to the world is obesity through their fast food. And if you look at Hindutva, Hindutva gave the word Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. World is a family, not a market. And what did we give to the world? Yoga and Ayurveda. We made a healthy world. And that is the good to the global good of the Hindutva. In Western world, many words have been banned. In America, Dan Revich collected more than 20 sets of guidelines produced by state departments of education, textbook, publishers, test developers, educational research organizations, and other interest groups. The guidelines ban words, uses, and written and pictorial image from various educational material. Some of the examples of banned word, the reason, and the replacements are first, the word doorman was banned because it seemed it is sexist, and it's been replaced with the word door attendant. The word dwarf was banned because it's considered offensive, and it's been replaced with word person of short stature. The word housewife has been banned because it's considered sexist, and it's been replaced with homemaker or head of the household. On the similar line, Hindus need to ban the usage of the word Hinduism. How to do it? Some of the steps that I can suggest are: don't use the word Hinduism henceforth. Don't buy a book which uses the word Hinduism. Don't refer an article or paper or book which uses the word Hinduism. Run a campaign across the world among school, college, government, think tanks, media houses, publications against using the word Hinduism. And keep the publications which use the term Hinduism out of the library. Let the word Hinduism remain like Trishanku. Trishanku tried to break the law of nature by attempting to enter the heaven when he was alive, and as a result, he was left hanging in between. Similarly, the suffix ism, which as mentioned above has a negative connotation, has tried to make a backdoor entry by associating itself with the word Hindu, with ulterior motives, as proven by the recently held Dismantle Hindutva conference. The word Hinduism will exist, but not to be used. Only the word Hindutva will be used. Remember, it is important to differentiate between Hinduism and Hindutva. Both represent two different cultures. Hinduism will alienate Hindus from Bharat. Hindutva will make the bond stronger between Hindus and Bharat. I'll conclude by sharing few examples of Hinduism and Hindutva. India is Hinduism. Hindutva is Bharat Ma. Mummy is Hinduism. Hindutva is Ma. Rama is Hinduism. Hindutva is Bhagwan Ram. Krishna is Hinduism. Hindutva is Bhagwan Krishna. Ganges is Hinduism. Hindutva is Ma Ganga. Elephant god is Hinduism. Hindutva is Ganpati Bappa Moria. Monkey god is Hinduism. Hindutva is Jai Bajrang Bali. God-fearing is Hinduism. Hindutva is God-loving. Imam-e-Hind is Hinduism. Hindutva is Jai Shri Ram. Temple is Hinduism. Hindutva is Mandir. Statue is Hinduism. Hindutva is Murti. Aryan Dravidian is Hinduism. Hindutva is Hindu. Caste is Hinduism. Hindutva is Jati and Varna. Great Mughals is Hinduism. Hindutva is Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Patriarchy is Hinduism. Hindutva is Purusharth. Mother's Day is Hinduism. Hindutva is Navratri. Globalization is Hinduism. Hindutva is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Cannonball tree is Hinduism. Hindutva is Shiv Kamal. Chickpea is Hinduism. Hindutva is Chana Dal. Taj Mahal is Hinduism. Hindutva is Ram Setu. Jawaharlal Nehru is Hinduism. Hindutva is Veer Savarkar. Hum Honge Kamyab Ek Din is Hinduism. हिंदुत्व इस धरती की शान, तू है मनु की क्षमता. सारे जहां से अच्छा is Hinduism. Hindutva is Vande Mataram. I thank the organizer for giving me an opportunity to put my views. Thank you.